to have with us tonight Kevin Thompson. Kevin is from Charleston, West Virginia. He's one of the most experienced trial attorneys in radiation injury litigation. He's had many cases. And one of the things Kevin will do, will tell you about the other lawyers that are involved in this and the other law firms. There's quite a bit of quality representation here. It's really the best in the country. Kevin?
Thank you, Richard, and thank you everybody for coming out tonight. It means a lot to see people are so interested in what we're doing here. As everyone knows, we filed a class action lawsuit against Honeywell. The lawsuit is based in Illinois property law at this point. The lawsuit is going to evolve very quickly into some other issues that I think are important to everyone. Issues of health, issues of environmental safety, and issues of injury, and of course issues of compensation. What I want to tell you about tonight is who we are. I want to tell you what we have done, why we're doing it, and how we think we can help. I'm Kevin Thompson, as he said, and my firm is Thompson Barney in Charleston, West Virginia. We're a small firm, but we do big cases, and we do environmental cases. My mentor has in radiation litigation has been a fellow named Stuart Smith from New Orleans, and that's how I met Ron Austin, who's there. Ron argued a $1 billion verdict against Exxon in the early 2000s for radiation contamination. It killed a lot of workers down there. Ron and I have worked on other cases, and we look forward to working on this case with you all and everyone else. Celeste Brusovich is in the back that's waving. She's with the Cooper Law Firm. She's also a very experienced litigator who's actually spent most of her career on the defense side, which gives us, I think, always an advantage to have someone who knows what the other guys are thinking. And as I said before, Celeste and Ron have worked together also, and so we kind of come like a team. We've worked together for a long time. When we met the Kruger firm, we're very impressed that they've allowed us to work on this case with them. And then Katrina Carroll, Katrina can stand up. Katrina's from Chicago, and her firm is Light DePalma. Katrina's expertise is in class action litigation. She settled a case for over $300 million recently, and she comes from a firm that has a nationwide reputation for the kind of class action work that we're doing. And this case is filed as a class action. Let me tell you what that means. That means that there's several people, Roger Stewart and Sandra and Verna Welch, families that live there near the plant, and they're the class representatives. We'll likely add more class representatives from different geographic parts of the affected area. What is a class representative? Then damages will be calculated on the formula that the jury applies for the class reps. If there's a medical monitoring fund for the class rep. There'll be a medical monitoring fund for the class members. We ask you to sign the contract because any client relationship with as many of you as you can. We'll communicate with you directly. And that relationship to get information about you to use. And I think we've taken a big step here today. If you filled out the intake form, I think this is the first bother to ask, what's the health situation of the people in Metropolis? Because one of the things that proves the class is the experience of all of the class members in the community. Now, when I say class action, what we're talking about is a lawsuit where we have filed on behalf of the class representatives, and I told you what they do, and then the judge in Benton, Illinois, in federal court, in a few months or maybe in a year, is going to have the opportunity to decide that they actually do represent your interests and that you are all similarly situated. And at that point, we will have a certified class action and we'll move forward. What have we done since we've been here? Since we got to town, we've been testing. We've been taking samples. I've been trying to find people who worked at the plant who could give me information about how the plant's designed, how the plant runs, the processes at the plant, what they did at the plant. I think what the most important thing that everyone wants to know is what's the result of the testing? Well, we tested the water, we tested the dust in the homes, and we tested the soil. I have some good news. The water from the Metropolis Municipal Water Plant does not reveal radioactive materials in excess of any of the screening standards, and that's good news. It's a long way underground, the water intake for the Metropolis plant, 400 feet, and it's a long way from the plant. There is radiation in the water. There's radiation in almost all water on this planet. There's radiation everywhere in the universe. It's something we live with. But what Honeywell did was concentrate the radiation and expose you to it. And I think the greatest fear everyone has is the drinking water, because it's what you ingest in your body every day. So the fact that the drinking water drop far, the radiation levels that we've found are far below any of the safe drinking water standards. And although I don't think you'll ever hear my scientists or I say anything is safe, because all you can tell with scientific testing is that you've got a negative result or a positive result. If you've got a positive result, then it may not be safe. If there's a negative result, you know, I'm not giving everyone a clean bill of health, but for now, in consultation with my scientists, and I think everything that we know about the plant, I think you can rest assured that the city of Metropolis is running a safe water plant, a modern water plant, an effective water plant. And the source water coming into that plant doesn't appear to be impacted by anything from the Honeywell factory, and that's good. The bad news is what we found in the soil and in the homes, and it's what we would have expected. We found uranium particles, thorium particles. We know that there's been plutonium found. We're still waiting for more of our results to come back. But we've also done preliminary screening, which indicates the presence of plutonium, americium, cesium. Work in the words mean. What they mean is there's a risk. There's a health risk, there's a risk to the environment, because these are deadly toxins, among the most deadly on the planet, or on any planet. What we have found is uranium, and it's important that we found it in declining concentrations the farther you get away from the plant. That's important, because as you know, there's a place over there called USEC in Paducah. So what we want to try to do in an investigation like this is take samples at different distances from what we believe to be the point source and work backwards. 7 miles out, We've got tests that are clean. No screening hits, no uranium particles, no radiation that we can find. That's positive because we know that out there somewhere there's an edge to the plume. Disturbingly though, the closer you get to the plant, the higher the concentration. At 2.5 miles, dust particles in a garage were 27% uranium. At 0.4 of a mile, dust particles in a house were over 50% uranium. So as you can see, at 7% out, you come back and you go from 0 to 27% to 50% by weight. Okay? So we know where that's going. It's take that to all the way to the plant, and someday we'll get on the plant. The federal judge is going to, I'm sure, let us onto the plant to do a site inspection to take samples. And that's going to be a milestone because I was at the NRC meeting. Howard Cook was at the NRC meeting last week, as were some of the others here. I asked the NRC if they'd ever taken samples. They said no. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission has never taken a sample themselves. Instead, they rely on the samples. We're going to take our own samples. We'll probably send them to different labs just to be sure. Because I think what you expect government to do, you're going to have to rely on lawyers to do. And that's another part of our democracy. We have juries, we have judges, they build courthouses to have trials. And that's where we're going to go with this someday, is to a courthouse for a trial. Now, what are the effects of these radioactive material that we're finding? Well, since the bomb went off in Hiroshima, there's been a lot of study done on what radiation does to humans. It causes cancer. It causes genetic damage. It causes birth defects. It causes reproductive problems. There's some things that science hasn't linked it to. Hasn't been linked to a number of, has not been linked to a number of neurological conditions. It's not been linked to a lot of digestive conditions. But that science is always evolving, and this case will be part of that science. Because one thing that we've asked for, now, so I've told you what I've done, and I've also spoken to workers. I've interviewed several workers, and the story's the same. It's shocking how they, at Honeywell, ignored basic industrial safety practice is just shocking. The uranium in the air got out into the city. Listen, there's no other way, there's no other point source for uranium and thorium and cesium, americium, and plutonium in Metropolis but that plant, okay? But it's going to be a long road between here and there to drag them into court and prove it. So that's what we've done. We've tested the sample. We've interviewed the workers, and we think we have at least the beginning of an understanding of what's going on in that plant. Now, how can we help, and what's our goal? Well, and this is a hot room, and we're going to make this fast, okay? What we can do is we can, A, try to get your property cleaned up. B, we can ask a judge that if that plant opens up again, engineering controls are put in place so that the uranium doesn't spew all over the town. I mean, those are the two very important things. We can get compensation for your property damages. We can get compensation for the annoyance, the inconvenience, and what's called the loss of use and enjoyment of your property. And we can also get medical monitoring. And I'm going to talk for a minute about what we're going to do next. What we have filed today, or last week, is the first legal step. It's our initial complaint. Lays out the Illinois property claims that we can make under tort law on behalf of property owners. The next step I'm going to take is filing a notice, and it's a statutory notice where we tell the Department of Justice, the EPA, and Honeywell that there's been violations of statute, basically environmental crimes. And we're going to ask the government to step in. That's what the law says I have to do. I've got to send this letter. It's not going to be a two-page letter. It's not going to be a letter that just makes bald accusations. It's going to be a letter that I'm going to write with our experts, our scientists. It's going to be backed up with exhibits. We're going to have test data, all the government documents we can find, and we're going to make a case in that letter, in that notice letter, that there's been violations of statutes. Now, I've been doing environmental law for about 20 years, and I never, ever have gotten as much as a phone call back from the government when I file these letters. And I don't expect Honeywell to come to my door and say, we're going to fix the problem. I don't expect the Department of Justice to roll in here with a bunch of Suburbans, young fit men, hop out and start taking statements and arresting people. That's not going to happen. I don't think the EPA is going to show up. I don't think the NRC is going to show up. I don't think I'm going to hear anything for 60 days. And on the 61st day, we'll file an amended lawsuit. And that lawsuit is going to allege violations of federal environmental statutes. As I said before, I'm not allowed to allege those statutes until I've sent this notice, because the government gets the first shot at prosecution. You know, I'm not a prosecutor. I can't put anybody in jail. I can give the evidence to someone who can put someone in jail, or who can issue a fine, or who can shut a plant down, or who can who can make them do something. But I don't have any faith that anybody's going to do that. The only people who are going to do that are the people in this room. The lawyers, you the citizens, many of whom may be witnesses, and the class reps who are going to stand up for you. And we're going to go to court, and we're going to press those claims. Now, the claims, as I said before, we can get property cleanup, and that's under Illinois tort law. We can change, well, we can't change. We can ask a judge to order a change, and a judge can change the practices at the plant. And we can get medical monitoring. Now, let me tell you what medical monitoring is. Medical monitoring is a legal remedy, and it, as you might guess, involves testing, because people need to be screened for cancer. You've been exposed to a carcinogenic substance. It's hard to tell what the effect of that may be in the future on any one person, but the only way you can be sure is to be tested on a regular basis. My firm has programs under West Virginia state coal mining laws in West Virginia where entire towns are in a medical monitoring program. The medical monitoring program does another thing. In addition to just testing you, the medical monitoring program, especially under RCRA, which is the Resource Conservation Recovery Act, it's a federal law, what the medical monitoring laws allow is for an epidemiologist to be employed. And this is paid for by money that you get from the defendant. And that epidemiologist is going to look at the test results from everybody. He'll be blinded. I mean, you know, you've got privacy of your medical records, even in a medical monitoring situation. But, you know, your identifying information is taken off. If you've got a potential health problem, a doctor will call you. And then the epidemiologist will look at all the test results and see, are there cancer clusters here? Are there a lot of particular types of cancer? Are there a number of different cancers that are very rare in this small population? Those are the kind of things that the doctors are going to need to prove, or to come to the proof of whether or not the people here have actually contracted cancer because of their exposure. This is going to require some amendments to the lawsuit. One question would be, because the radiation safety or the radiation worker safety programs are in effect, well, what about the workers? They're employees of the defendants. At this point, Like, one of the first things we're going to amend when we get the lawsuit is we're going to expand beyond just property owners, because if we have medical monitoring available, you don't have to just be a property owner to get medical monitoring. If you've been exposed, if you've got a danger, you don't have to be an owner of something to get help under these laws. So renters, children, people who used to live here and don't live here anymore will be available. What about the workers? I mean, think about a worker. A worker goes into a plant, a worker gets exposed and gets a certain dose. A worker goes home and gets another dose. Gets up the next morning and goes to work and gets another dose. So there's multiple exposures. One of the things that's going to be amended is it's going to be the class definition will be adjusted, because as we get more sampling data, we might have a better footprint of where the affected area is. Maybe the one test I took at 7 miles was an anomaly. We'll take more tests out there. I mean, we're not going to take one test at 7 miles and say everybody beyond 7 miles is safe. We'll take more and more. Defendant employees are going to be included in this class, because a defendant employee right off the bat is a property owner if they own a place within the class definition. And like I said, they would have gotten different and perhaps additional exposures beyond just working in the plant. This is going to take a while. I don't know how long, but I know one thing: the fastest way to get justice in this country is federal court, and the fastest way for thousands of people to get justice is a class action. If Honeywell wants to come to the table and do the right thing, and there's political will, it can be resolved quickly. If they don't, then we're going to have to drag them into court and beat it out of them. And we will. It could take years. It could take years. That's fine. I spent years fighting people. I don't mind that. Katrina didn't mind that. Ron. Ron will fight anybody for as long as they'll fight.
It's what we do, it's what we've done, we've proven. It's what we do, it's what we've done, and we're prepared to take this fight to Honeywell for as long as it takes. We've assembled an extraordinary number of lawyers, very talented team with the know-how and the finances to seek justice on behalf of each and every one of you. Y'all have been injured, your property's been damaged. We're here to make sure that you can raise your babies, enjoy your family, enjoy your homes with some peace and tranquility. We're here to make sure that as you move forward, there will be some sort of medical monitoring so you can understand better what's going on with you in your communities. It's a partnership. It's a partnership. So we're going to need each and every one of y'all as much as y'all need us. So have some faith in us, sort of follow the program. It's not an overnight scenario. We've been involved in a number of cases, some shorter than others. Some of them we've resolved for hundreds of millions of dollars in 2 or 3 years. Sometimes it's been 10 years. As Kevin said, I was lucky enough, along with Stuart Smith, we had a $1 billion judgment against Exxon. Probably took us 9 years to get the case to trial. And we probably had a couple $1 million at stake getting there. I share that story with you for this reason: to tell you that we're in it for the long game, to tell you that our pockets are deep enough to take on Honeywell and take the fight to them, and usually we're successful at it. It's more than about money. It's really about restoring some dignity and respect. It's truly about restoring your property, truly about restoring what each and every one of us get up and fight for every day. Our homes, sort of what we fight for every day, right? Our children having an ability to raise our family, making sure your property values get back to where they should be, and sort of not having to be fearful of developing cancers and wondering where all the sicknesses are coming from and or the genetic disorders. And so we don't want to take too much time. Kevin's going to end, I think. We're going to break off into groups. There are tables in the back for information. Kevin and I, Katrina, Celeste, Mr. Kruger, a number of attorneys sitting around to answer any individual questions. If you don't have any individual questions, please take time fill out the contracts in the back. We will be in touch. This is a process that will take some time. I know you will have a lot of questions. We will be here. Listen, we're your new neighbors, and we'll be in and out of this place often. And so we will become family. I have some friends back there who promised me some white beans that I'm still waiting on. But we're here, friends, and we're here to make sure that we fix your problem. Thank you.
Okay, one more thing. All right, I know people have questions. And I know I talk about democracy some here, all right? But this is a lawsuit, and we got the press here, and we got people who are recording it. And what we don't want are, in a community meeting like this, this is always the way the environmental laws, the battles start. What we need to do is, I'm gonna be over here, okay? People who have questions or wanna tell me things, okay? I want two things to me, okay? I'm gonna be over there. I want questions and I want people with evidence to come see me, okay? What we don't wanna do is have a big round robin discussion in front of everybody else, because what always happens is people have questions. The most burning question in most people's minds is their health, and that's the most personal thing you have, okay? So I don't want to be rude right now and shut everybody off, but let's break up now so the people who have signed up and want to get home can get on with dinner. The people that want to talk and have questions and want to give evidence can come over here and talk to Ron and I, and then Katrina and Celeste and the Kruger firm will be back there to fill out forms. Most importantly is that intake form, because we want to know what's happened to you. All right, thank you very much for coming. And let's break off into our groups right now. Thank you.